Today, I'm presenting you my point of view on the short story and the film Blindness. To start, I'm going to talk about the best and worst characters. First, in the short story Country of the Blind, my favorite character is Nunez, because at first it discovered by chance a hidden spot in Latin America where only blind people live. He tried to become their king, but later understood that it wouldn't work. Instead, he tried to integrate the community and culture. He fell in love with a woman that lives there and wanted to marry her, but her father didn't agree. At the end of the story, Noonan goes back to his city and probably learned a long life lesson. The obvious example in Blindness, the movie, is the woman who retains her sight throughout the pandemic. She represents a good or saint-like character by choosing to live in the horrible conditions in order to be with her husband and help the others. Prior to realizing that she is immune to the illness, she never fears for herself. I also think it's important to mention that the escort character is another strong good character, but it's presented in a more subtle way. From the beginning of the movie, she takes the little boy into her care to protect, comfort, and feed him. In relation to the concept of blindness, I think that this says a lot because her profession are heavily judged and looked in a bad way. The character I didn't like was Medina Sarote's dad, Jacob, because he judges Nunez and thinks he's an idiot because Nunez speaks differently than the people that actually live there. When Nunez wanted to marry his daughter, he wanted Nunez to remove his eyes since it will cure him of his idiocy. In the end, I feel like they could have used Nunez for specific needs because his sights would come in handy for them, but they preferred to make him go away. Again, here there are two bad characters, an obvious one and a subtle one. The King of World 3 is a very in your face sort of villain. He takes control of the world and turns into a sort of Mad Max like society. He destroyed the TV, the only remaining connection to outside world, threatened the others with weapons, controlled food supplies, and commanded women to trade their bodies for food. The true villain, in my opinion, is the man who was originally blind. He can thrive in this environment and chooses to not only do so, but use it to his advantage despite being the one person who could help these people in a way that the protagonist woman could not. He would be able to offer strategies and insights to adapting to the new blind reality that would have made him a strong asset. Instead, he decided to side with the king and benefit from the advantage and power he holds over the other patients. Now, I'm going to discuss the concept of blindness in both stories and how it relates to my values. I'll also explain what happened next if the story had to continue. In the country of the blind, blindness is clearly physical, but there are examples of another type of blindness. On one hand, Nunez is blind because he thinks of himself as a king for them, but they have been living for centuries without sight and they don't need them. On the other hand, they could have used Nunez without being so strict and seen him as an asset. I don't think Nunez will come back to take over the peaceful country. I think that the people who live there will continue their lives separate from the developed society because if it will be extremely difficult to merge both peacefully. The flash of white sky in the end scene of blindness represent to me how the main character will never be able to see the world as it was before now that she has witnessed everything that she did. While others will be affected by what happened to them, they didn't witness the deterioration of society and the horrors that visually came with it. I think that once people start going out and seeing how bad the streets and buildings look, they will wonder how everything could have gone downhill to that point. Overall, though, I think that everyone will be traumatized by it, but not the way that she will be, of course. To some, blindness can only be described as a physical disability when reality there is a sorry when reality there is a separate spectrum of blindness, ignorance. On any given day, it is possible to encounter someone who is what I refer to as mentally blind. For example, rather than acknowledge real problems in our society, many choose to turn a blind eye and ignore the fact that millions of people are dying every day to various social, political, and environmental issues. While they may choose not to acknowledge this reality and continue to live in a bliss, this is a clear example of choosing our mental blindness. Thank you for listening to me. Bye.